Hey everybody, welcome back to the Real Estate Machine Show. I am your host, Chris Matan. Thank you so much for joining me today. So today we're going to talk about 1031 exchanges, right? 1031 exchange is a tax strategy for commercial property owners to essentially defer tax when they sell a property. And number one, full disclosure, I am not an accountant, a CPA, a tax advisor, a lawyer, anything along those lines. I just want to kind of paint a picture of the advantages of considering a 1031 tax deferred exchange as an exit strategy, or when you're considering your exit strategy when you sell commercial or investment property. So number one, you definitely want to consult your tax planner, tax advisor, lawyer, or really an intermediary who's a company that actually handles the tax, the exchange for the transaction. So I don't want to dive too deep into the weeds on all that stuff, but suffice to say, when it comes to selling commercial property, especially for you owners that have owned property for a long time and that maybe it's been depreciated all the way down to zero, you're going to have a major tax liability on your hands when you sell the property. So part of the strategy and the entire process, you need to factor in, what that looks like from a net standpoint. So, a lot of realtors out there, they're going to put together a net sheet for you when it comes to, all right, you're going to sell the property for $1 million, your loan is $400,000, and the rest of your expenses are another $100,000, so on and so forth. So you're going to net $500,000, right? Obviously, my numbers are very, very generic, but let's say you're going to net $500,000. You have to, on top of that, figure out what your tax liability is going to be in after that if you're just going to cash out. Because if you've owned that property for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, your basis may be down to zero. You're taxed on that basis, on the difference between the basis and the number there. You factor in your debt. And, you might be looking at a heavy bill, and all of a sudden now it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to sell it. The way to avoid that is to exchange that property or the proceeds into another property. And it's got to be a like kind exchange. So it's got to be investment for investment. You can't sell an apartment building and then buy a single family house that you're going to live in or something like that. So there's rules, there's timelines that are important to consider. Once you get your property under contract and you close, you have to identify up to 3 properties within 45 days that you're going to purchase with those proceeds. And you can't touch those proceeds. The proceeds from the sale, from your closing, go right to the intermediary, and that's stuck there for minimum 6 months. So you have 45 days to identify your property, and then you have 6 months from the day of closing to close on the replacement property or properties, depending on how that all works out for you. But, it's important to note that you do not have access to any of that cash or any of those proceeds until you satisfy the exchange or the timeline has been expired. Now, there are partial exchanges that you can do. There are reverse exchanges. There's always the question, well, I don't want to sell my property until I know what I'm going to buy, so I have that lined up. There's all kind of strategies that you can use, and tactics and tricks that you can use within the law, of course, to kind of guide you through navigate you through that whole process. So anyway, it's just a very important part of the entire selling process when it comes to investment property. I'd love to chat with you a little bit more. If you guys have any other questions or you want to contact me direct, I'd be happy to sit down and just kind of consult on it, and then we can take it, going a little step further. I can advise you or refer you to a qualified intermediary to really dig down into the weeds and really get into the numbers on what you can expect. So that's a critical thing. Lastly, really appreciate you guys watching the show. I'd love for you to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Please comment below. Trying to build the channel and build the audience, and I hope I'm being of value to you guys along the way. And until then, have a great weekend, and then we're going to catch you on Marriage Machine Mondays on Monday.